It is really critical for any homebuyer in North Carolina to understand the difference between our two deposits. We have the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit, and they are not the same thing, and certainly not what you're used to in other states. So, how do they work? First of all, you need to understand that you don't write any checks when you present your offer. Checks for the deposits are only written once your offer is accepted. So hold on to the check until you know if you are the lucky winner. Now, the due diligence fee, that check will be made out directly to the seller's name. They will hold it in their personal account and it will be credited back to you on the closing statement. The earnest money deposit will be held by the escrow agent, which is most commonly the closing attorney. So, due diligence fee made out to the seller. They hold it in their account until closing. You get it back as a credit. The earnest money is made out to the escrow agent, the attorney, and that will come back to you also as a credit at closing. However, what happens in between is the crazy part. So the due diligence fee is non-refundable. In other words, if you walk away for any reason at all, any reason, bad inspection report, even if it's structural, even if it's something horrible, you are not getting that money back. If the appraisal is low, you need to walk away. You are not getting that money back. The only way that the due diligence fee is refundable to you, the buyer, is if the seller breaches the contract. It is very difficult for people from other states to understand this concept because in many states, they have either a time period in which they decide whether or not they want to move forward once the offer is accepted. That's not the case in North Carolina. And whether or not they want to write that check. Not the case. Offer is accepted. The due diligence check must be written to the seller and delivered at the time it's accepted or as quickly as possible, usually within 24 hours. They're going to hold it in their account. And if you walk away, they're keeping that money, which is so frustrating for buyers. The escrow, that can be returned to you up until a certain time period. That's called the due diligence window, in which you are doing your inspections, the appraisal, the survey, and all of that. So, if during that period you decide you're going to walk away, that money can be brought back and refunded to you. The due diligence will not, it's gone forever. Again, due diligence is only refundable when the seller breaches the contract. Everybody hates this. So I get asked, well, Nina, don't I have 3 days in which to decide? No, get that out of your mind if you're coming from another state. Nina, what if the inspection report shows something horrible with the structure of the home? Nope, you're not getting it back. What if there is a leak? What if there's something major? No, only if the seller breaches the contract do you get the due diligence fee back. It's all on the North Carolina Commission website. I will include links for it in the description below so that you can read up about it. Unfortunately, it is legal. I do not feel that it is fair to buyers. It protects sellers should somebody walk away because in essence, it is buying the time that the house is off the market for a buyer to do their inspections and all of the good stuff. Okay. So think of it as money you're paying for the time to do those inspections. You don't get money back when you buy something, right? Like it's not Amazon. You can't just return it and say, give me my money back. So again, think of this. There's a certain amount in due diligence and there is a certain amount in earnest money. It's all going to depend on house popularity, house location, and market condition as to how much due diligence is given versus earnest money. And to be honest with you, I have a whole other video about how to reduce or avoid the due diligence fee, and I will hook that up for you below as well. Again, I'm sorry, it's not fair at all to buyers that the due diligence fee is non-refundable. The earnest money works just like other states does. Within a certain time period, you can get it back. And I know what you're thinking, coming from another state, because I hear it all the time, because I help people relocate here constantly. They say, well, I'm just not going to pay the due diligence fee. Well, then you're very likely not going to get a house, unfortunately. Again, watch the video on how to avoid or reduce the due diligence fee. But sellers here are accustomed to receiving some type of due diligence fee. So now your question is, how much is what's expected in this area and these market conditions? All of that will be evaluated at the time of putting in an offer. I just need you to please understand the difference between the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit. And I have a handy dandy one sheet visual layout of how these deposits work. I have it linked in the description below for you to look at. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And I know the comments will be full of hate comments such as, well, then I'm never buying a house in North Carolina. And, I can see lawsuits all over this. Yeah, we get those comments a lot. And we hear this a lot from people not buying a house in North Carolina or here. But the ones who have to buy a house here and the ones who need to move forward understand that this is what we have at this time moving forward. Due diligence fee, non-refundable, but it does come back to you as a credit at the closing. Earnest money, refundable, if you pull out by a certain time and date, also comes back to you as a credit at the closing. Again, check the description for the easy visual to understand it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.